This is the download recap from Sounds Profitable, the most important news from this week and why it matters to people in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. The download recap is brought to you by Podscribe. You can find out more at podscribe.com. Let's get into it. Apple Podcasts launches new video experience. On March 25th, Apple launched iOS 26.4, which includes the new HTTP live streaming or HLS upgrade to Apple Podcasts. iPhones will receive the update over the coming weeks naturally, but if you want it now, Pod News has offered up a handy link to Apple's official guide on how you force an iOS update to your phone. Building on the first two batches of hosting platforms with HLS support, that is Acast, Art19, Omni Studio, the SiriusXM Media family, so that includes SXM Media, AdsWiz, and Simplecast, Transistor, Audio Means, Podbean, Captivate, RSS.com, and Podigy, Apple announced another round of hosting platforms, specifically Podspace, Riverside, Ausha, and Firstory. On Mastodon, John Spurlock reports that 48 podcasts supported HLS video on launch day, with 31 of those podcasts hosted by Acast. Pod News reports that as of Wednesday, the Apple Podcast web app now supports full video, but the Mac OS app and Apple TV do not yet support HLS video podcasts. The last quarter, understanding podcasting's last holdouts. Tom Webster debuts new research in this week's Sounds Profitable article, drawing from the podcast landscape survey of over 5,000 Americans weighted to the U.S. Census. The last quarter examines the 25% of adults 18 plus who have never listened to a podcast. Podcasting's holdouts skew older and female. 61% are age 55 plus, unlike both the U.S. population as a whole and the makeup of podcasting's audience. 58% of the holdouts are women. 13% of the holdouts identify as having Hispanic or Latino origins, with 48% of that group saying they are most proficient in Spanish, with another 28% equally proficient in Spanish and English. The latter detail signals a real Spanish language opportunity for podcasting if more local content were created, content promoted on the idea of what it can do for the listeners in Spanish. A challenge with reaching convertible sections of that 25% of Americans not consuming podcasts is something Webster calls the bubble problem. Since World War II, society in the United States has progressed into self-selecting individuals into increasingly homogenous communities. If a particular county or town over-indexes for people who don't consume podcasts, word-of-mouth promotion can't gain purchase without investment in advertising. It'll take effort to break into that bubble. Here's a quote from Webster in the article, quote, "When debuting this data at South by Southwest, I told the room that this wasn't a story about people who've rejected podcasting. It's a story about people who haven't been invited yet or who were invited in a language they didn't speak on a platform they didn't use with a pitch about technology when all they wanted was something good to listen to on the way to work. The correctable gap isn't awareness, it's the invitation itself," end quote. YouTube and Facebook can be powerful tools to reach podcasting's last quarter. 57% use YouTube, and Facebook is their top social platform by far. Promotional efforts aimed at this group should lead with topics rather than format, as the tech side of podcasting is not a draw to this demographic. Spotify layoffs in podcast group cut 3% of headcount. This is by Todd Spangler over at Variety. Spangler's source says that on Monday, March 23rd, 15 employees were laid off in Spotify's podcasting sector, mostly from The Ringer and Spotify Studios. The Ringer's New York-focused sports podcast, New York, New York, with John Yastrzemski, is also being canceled. A quote from Spangler's article, quote, "The changes are being described internally as helping Spotify's podcast group focus on improving execution, speed, and alignment across teams, and that the layoffs are not about cost cutting. Spotify is still investing in growth areas in its podcast biz, particularly in multi-format content and video," the source says, end quote. I'd like to remind readers looking to hire or be hired that the Sounds Profitable job board is free for all to use at soundsprofitable.com/jobs. The board is updated daily with both submitted positions and positions we find out in the wild. YouTube is building infrastructure for the full creator brand partnership lifecycle. Just in time for IAB New Fronts, YouTube has released a Gemini-powered suite of tools called Creator Partnerships, formerly known as BrandConnect. The suite aims to help brands easily find the right creators to work with, as well as automate parts of the collaboration process, for example, matching and campaign management. 5 influencer marketing experts tell Digiday they believe creator partnerships will particularly benefit low to mid-funnel creators aiming to grow business and reach. Here's a quote from Anders Bill, co-founder of influencer marketing platform Superfiliate. Quote, "This is the clearest signal yet that the platforms recognize the operational layer has been the bottleneck. The reason creator marketing hasn't scaled the way it should isn't a creator problem or a brand problem. It's an infrastructure problem." End quote. Wednesday's issue of the Publish Press newsletter shares content creators' reactions to creator partnerships, largely citing frustrations with BrandConnect and enthusiasm for smoother brand partnership matching. A welcome tool given third-party brand partnership services take a percentage of total campaign budgets. Creator partnerships, meanwhile, doesn't currently take a platform fee. Now it's time for quick hits. These are articles we've covered throughout the week that are worth including in your weekend reading. I'm just compacting them down for size reasons. For the rest of the news today, we have SiriusXM Media and AdsWiz have expanded their partnership with Barometer. With the new arrangement, Barometer's brand suitability tech will deliver episode-level brand suitability targeting across the SiriusXM podcast network. Magellan AI has launched broadcast radio attribution, allowing advertisers to measure how broadcast radio campaigns contribute to key business outcomes, including form fills, leads, and purchases, in comparison to podcasts, streaming audio, connected TV, and other media. No Mono has appointed former Pocket Cast CEO Owen Grover as the U.S. General Manager and has announced the launch of Audio Video Sync inside its Studio Cloud platform. And finally, The Hollywood Reporter has exclusive coverage announcing Goalhanger is launching a content creator fund initiative dubbed the Accelerator. The program will offer select UK creators up to £10,000 in content investment alongside mentorship and access to Goalhanger's production infrastructure. That was the download recap brought to you by Sounds Profitable and Podscribe. Reminder that everything I just talked about is available by clicking the link in your show notes. That'll take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to get the newsletter version of the download recap and get that straight to your inbox every Friday morning. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Our producers are myself, Brian Barletta, Molly DeMillier, and Tom Webster. And as always, special thanks to you for sticking with me as I brought you the top stories you might have missed from this week in the business of podcasting. Robot.
Download complete.